Hi y'all, I'm on a mission today to get this fountain in, and I'm going to walk you through the process that I use to kind of install a fountain, and kind of the automatic self-refilling mechanism that I've kind of come up with. This one I intend to be automatically self-refilling. At the last house, the fountains were too small to install one of these in, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as we go through there, but this is the classic Finial fountain from Henri Studios. I picked it up about a month ago. I got it from Aquatic Garden Center and Decor between Dayton and Cincinnati. It's in the Westchester area. We are extremely lucky to have a place like that. So if you live in a location that doesn't necessarily have a place like that, because I don't think they're everywhere, I've not seen many of them, your local garden centers can order fountains in from Henri Studios if they carry other Henri stoneware. So they have a whole catalog. You can look online and probably just go to your garden center and be like, hey, I would like to order this fountain, and they can order it for you and have it shipped. Depending on how much they're ordering at any one time, it may take a little longer to get it. So if you really want one, probably winter's the best time to tell the garden center, because they make those orders really early in the season because Henri produces so much in the spring. But I'm going to show you a few clips of Aquatic Garden Center and Decor if you want to go check it out. A lot of my stuff came from there. That is concrete. These containers right here, which are 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗧, I think they're called like a basket weave or M weave or something, came from there that I really love. All of my other fountains at the last property came from there. And this one, I've got the basin pulled out. It's fiberglass basin and all concrete around it. And then there's the concrete surrounds for the fiberglass basin. I've leveled it pretty good. It doesn't have to necessarily be perfect because concrete pieces aren't necessarily perfect anyway. And Henri provides these plastic wedges that you wedge underneath each structure to make it perfectly level as you go up the tier. So getting the basin pretty level is good, but when I start setting all this concrete on it, it's going to sink a little bit in the center because the fiberglass is a little bit flexible. So I'm not worried about it getting super like right on level perfect. It's really close. I did put a couple concrete blocks underneath it that I had some paving stones around it to keep it really level. And how I'm going to be self-watering this or having it automatically refill is Henri, all the fountains that I've had, they're made with 1 1/4 inch PVC holes in the center. So let me turn the camera around and show you what I've done. So this is the basin, and here, right here in the center, is typically where you would put a plug and your power cord for your pump would come through. The past 2 fountains that I've had, I've instead inserted 1 1/4 inch PVC in there, equal to the height of the side of the basin that you're in. So if you don't have a fountain with a basin, you can just pretend this is your lowest tier. You put this in there instead, and you know water's not going to flow out through that PVC, or it will flow over the side here. So it's equally the same size. So if the fountain gets too full, it's gonna flow down through that center column or over the edge. And what you can do from there, and I caulked around it a couple days ago, so that's nice and dry, is you can run your power cord through there, and you can also run a water pipe through there to water your fountain or fill your fountain easily. The past 2 fountains I've had, I did not have room to put a mechanism within the concrete structure that fits on top of it. So what I did was I just used drip irrigation tubing like that black there and ran it up the center and kind of let it fall off to the side with some elbows, and then I could just turn a valve on at the hose bib, which is down there, and it would fill up manually to where I wanted it, and I could turn it off when I was done. That didn't require me dragging any hoses or anything. I could just literally turn it on real quick, wait 30 seconds or so until it filled up to the level I wanted, and then shut it off, and that made it super simple to refill. What I'm doing with this fountain, because I do have a whole lot of room to fit this auto refilling mechanism in, is I'm going to set it up with the drip irrigation tubing, which is here, and show you the valve that works and maintains the depth that I want in this basin. So this little device right here, I shot a video on a couple years ago about automatically refilling your fountain. This is called a Hudson valve, and it has a little diaphragm type thing in the bottom that when the water pressure flows up the side of it, it shuts off the flow of water. So if you can position this correctly, oftentimes they're used in like animal water troughs to automatically refill those and keep them full. But if you can position this on the pipe at the correct height, it will always maintain the height in your fountain that you want it. And you can either leave it on all the time, or in my case, I'm going to put it on a timer just in case something malfunctions. I'm not flooding my yard. So it'll run 10 minutes a day or so, or however long I find that it needs to run to keep the fountain maintained once a day. Or I could do twice a day, whatever your heart desires. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to install this. And it basically comes, there's several different varieties of these. There's different sizes of these. This is one of the smallest ones, and it should fit nicely in this larger fountain that I have. You may not be able to use one of these if you're just using a smaller fountain. So you may just have to do the manual refill method. From there, you have to buy whatever attachments you need to get it from this top connection here, which is on the top of the device, to drip irrigation tubing. So I spent yesterday like 30 minutes in Home Depot or so and bought all of these brass fittings. And I actually have this as like refrigerator line. So it goes from the 1/2 inch drip irrigation tubing, converts down to 1/4 inch refrigerator tubing really, and then it clips into that Hudson valve. So it will refill pretty slowly. But that's good. So I'm going to spend 10-15 minutes getting the drip irrigation to this, putting the pump also underneath it because you got to run the power cord before you fill all this up and everything. And then I'll come back and we'll watch it fill up together, and hopefully it works. That valve is probably 5 or more years old, and I never actually got to use it on the last fountain because it was too big. So I'm hoping it still works. All right, the sun's been peeking back out, so I'm a little sweaty. But I'm going to show y'all what I did, and then we're going to see and watch it fill up. I'm going to fill up the basin to make sure it fills correctly, because if I go through this whole process and it doesn't fill correctly or hold water correctly, then there's no use in putting the fountain together right now. So let's give it a look. So here's what it looks like. This is the bottom. When you order the basin for this fountain, you can get it with or without it. You're provided this extra step up that's almost, you know, kind of the height of the edge to bring the fountain up a little bit. And you have to have enough room to do this method for the pump and this extra Hudson valve to fit. Now I just zip tied these on there, and you want to make sure the Hudson valve is as level as possible. I added a little extra slack to make sure if I needed to make any adjustments in the future I could without buying new adapters. There's a L adapter for the drip underneath, and it runs out the back underneath here along with the power cord. Power cord plugs up over there, and I just run them together, so if I'm ever doing any digging, I'll know they're there together back through there, and it's connected over here to my timer. So like I said, typically on these valves you don't have to add a timer. I'm going to, just as a fail-safe, and I'm about to turn the timer on, and we're going to watch water flow into the fountain basin to make sure it's holding water correctly. So I'm going to show you on my beehive here. I've got it on zone 1. I'm going to choose it to water for 20 minutes. That should be more than enough to fill this up. I'll get it started, and water should start flowing out of this Hudson valve. If all goes correctly. There we go. So you can see it just fills up around the edge there. I'm going to come back when it's filled up most of the fountain, and we'll make sure that it stops before we proceed assembling the rest of this fountain together. Oh, you see it? It just shut off. So it's keeping the water level perfect. It's been exactly 36 minutes. So it took 36 minutes for this pool to fill up. So that means I may want to put this timer on, 10 minutes twice a day just to keep it perfectly level. Now at this point, I think this is a pretty good height for this fountain. I could adjust the zip ties and pull the Hudson valve up just slightly. But I think I'm going to leave it where it is for now. I think that's a pretty good, by the time the water starts moving and stuff, it'll need to pull in some more water and it'll splash a little bit. So that's a good depth, I believe, for the fountain for now. While it was filling, I did put the surrounds on, and I need to come through after I get this assembled and kind of level them out a little more, because some are a little higher than the others. So I need to dig out a little bit more around this fountain, and it looks like the edges are a little off level, and it may be because I inserted some concrete blocks over there. It's a little lower the water level is than it is over here. So I'll probably come in and put another concrete block under here and raise that water level just a little bit, and then dig down around. But I'm going to get to start assembling this because I can do all of that afterwards, and that way we can get this going today. All right, it's been about 4 hours roughly since I started this project, and it's finally done. So let's take a look at it. You can see it just over my shoulder, how it's going to look as you enter the sidewalk here to the front of the home. After I initially set it up, I walked out in the yard to look at it. I was just like, I love this so much. It is just perfectly what was needed here. Let's take a look. Also, while we're here, look how good this container is filling out. So enter the sidewalk. So now when I sit and talk to y'all on this bench, we'll have some beautiful water noise behind us. I was really concerned after I picked out this fountain that it would be too big for the space. And then I got it home in the box and I was like, well, this doesn't look as big as I thought it was in picture. I've never seen one in person, and when you're ordering fountains, although that location I got it from have a lot available, they don't have this specific one. And I've ordered 2 fountains from them that they didn't have on site, and both have been incredible, of course, but you just never know as far as dimensions until you get it into the space how it's gonna look. So I think it's the perfect size for this location. So going forward, the rest of the day, I think I'm gonna go in and take a break since this took me a while and the sun's out. I'm gonna wait till this afternoon and I'm gonna come back and add drip irrigation to this bed and get to planting some more maybe begonias right here, or sun patiens or something to fill out and bring some color into this space so I can move on to other projects. So the hardest part about installing any fountain is getting it level. This one's, the more tiers it has, the more difficult it is. Concrete forms are not necessarily perfectly level themselves, although they're very close. So you're given these little plastic wedges. You might can see them down there. There's one there and one there. So you have to level from the bottom up. So I level the top tier, the next tier, so that all the streams are flowing correctly. And by the time you make it to the top, you sometimes have to go back down to the bottom and adjust a little more. So after doing that a couple times, they were flowing pretty well. And then the most difficult thing for this one was arranging the surrounds where they fit together nicely. And I'm really loving the added noise in the area. That's something that, other than the water feature, the noise of moving water in your garden is really important for gardening and design spaces. It doesn't splash as much as I was afraid it might, probably because it's got the basin on it. If you were just using the tier, sometimes tiered fountains can splash pretty bad. This one doesn't seem to do it that bad, so I'm not terribly concerned about the boxwoods getting too wet there, or the plants around it are going to get too wet. So I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple hours, and then this evening I'll come out and plant some things. Thank you guys for joining me on this little fountain installing adventure, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, and remember, be a light. Bye.